I'm not the type of person who wants to see everything fall apart and burn. When I noticed something was wrong with my wife, I didn't hesitate to talk to her about it. I asked her why she had stopped talking to me, hugging me, and being close to me. I even asked her why she seemed uncomfortable with my touch. It wasn't easy to get her to open up at first, but eventually she did. And what I heard broke my heart. She said she didn't feel like I was enough for her, that she had to do everything herself and couldn't rely on me. She felt like she had to make all the decisions and handle everything, including the kids. She even said that maybe she would be better off alone. Hearing all of this was a shock, but I didn't want to fight with her. I love her so much that I accepted what she said and told her I understood her pain. I promised her I would work on my behavior so she wouldn't have to stress about it. I just want to make things right because she means the world to me, but it's tough, you know? Despite all that, I do. I still have my own thoughts that keep me awake at night. That's actually why I ended up seeking support from this group. Because the accusations my wife is making against me just aren't true. At least not from my perspective. I genuinely believe I'm a good husband who meets the norm. I work around 8 or 9 hours from home, and when I'm finished, I dedicate myself to taking care of my boys. I play with them, feed them, take the older one to swim lessons, and tuck them in at bedtime. I'll even wake up in the middle of that night if they need me. And it's not just about the kids. I also handle household chores, the dishes, groceries, and some cleaning. Although my wife thinks I'm not efficient enough at it, so she prefers to take over. I also take care of the car and other responsibilities related to our new house. I do all of this to make her life easier because I know how challenging it can be with 2 little boys. But the thing is, I'm not always the type of person who's constantly proactive. You know, there are those people who can't sit on the couch for 5 minutes without thinking about what to do next, what needs fixing, what business to start, what chores are left to do. My father-in-law is like that, but I'm not. I have my own unique way of doing things, and I believe that's okay too. At the end of the day, when the kids are finally asleep, work is checked off, and the house is in order, I look forward to unwinding with a movie or some video games. I've never been the entrepreneurial type who wants to start my own business. I thrive when I'm given tasks to excel at in my field. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Plenty of people are like me. I'm not chasing some flashy career or dreaming of swimming in money. I'm just an ordinary guy. But things have been different lately. I've noticed my wife having issues with my approach, even though we've had 9 years of blissful marriage. It all came to a head in December, and since then I've been pushing myself to go against my natural personality. I've been doing extra groceries, fixing up things around the house, barely taking a moment to rest in the evenings. I thought she'd appreciate it, but her attitude towards me remained unchanged. So I mustered up the courage to confront her. My emotions running high, I looked her straight in the eye and asked her point blank, "Do you even want to save our marriage?" Her response hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't know, I couldn't believe it. Was she that clueless or just indifferent? I gritted my teeth and pushed on, asking her if she was willing to go to marriage counseling. And once again, she had the audacity to reply with that same infuriating answer. I don't know. I couldn't take it anymore. I snapped at her, telling her that this was not the time for indecision. Our kids could end up with divorced parents if we didn't act fast, and her lack of commitment was unacceptable. She finally agreed to go to therapy after much prodding, but true to form, she showed no interest in taking any initiative. I had to do all the legwork in finding a therapist myself. And during one of our counseling sessions, she dropped some brutal truths that cut me to the core. She said she only married me to impress her family and fit into their idea of a perfect happy family with beautiful children. She admitted that she was never truly in love with me, but was merely enchanted by the idea of marriage. As if that wasn't enough, I later found out that she had met with her fellow priest to discuss our marriage behind my back. It was a betrayal that left me reeling with anger and hurt. But despite it all, I soldiered on and found a good therapist for us. We're now approaching our 3rd session, but it's been a rocky road. We learned that we have different love languages. I crave touch, while she prioritizes getting things done. It's been a constant struggle, and to make matters worse, she hasn't shown me any physical affection since we started counseling. No hugs, no touch, nothing. The therapist was taken aback when she heard that my wife and I hadn't slept in the same room for 6 whole months. My wife tried to explain it away, saying that she's been sharing the bed with the kids and there's simply no space for me. But the therapist didn't hold back. She bluntly told my wife that it's a terrible example to set for the kids, denying their own father access to the bedroom. She even suggested that we should go to IKEA and buy a single bed to put next to the big one. So I went ahead and did just that. I bought the bed, assembled it, and now I sleep there. But I still feel just as alone as before. My wife is all the way to the left, the boys are in the middle, and I'm stuck on the far right, feeling like an outsider in my own marriage. From the very beginning of this issue, my wife has been changing her story. Now she's saying that she's depressed from being stuck at home with the kids all the time. She's claiming that she said all those hurtful things because she was just too emotional. But I would never dream of saying anything like that to her, no matter how upset I am. So my wife went back to work, and we had to hire a nanny to handle the kids. The only change I noticed is that we started talking more. But I ain't just her buddy, I'm her husband too. And there's zero closeness between us, and it ain't looking like it's going to improve anytime soon. No signs of it. She doesn't give a duck about our marriage counseling sessions. I'm the one who has to keep setting them up. Things are much worse than I thought. My buddies were saying, "Dude, your wife is totally cheating on you." And at first, I thought it was like some sci-fi movie stuff. I didn't believe my wife would do that. But today, everything changed. I caught her red-handed by installing a voice-activated recorder in our car for just 3 days. She used the car to go to work and the gym, and bam, she called him, or he called her twice. I heard every word of their video conversation on the phone and got all the evidence I need. They were talking about personal stuff, like when my wife and I first met 9 years ago. You know, all that attraction, inside jokes and stuff. I haven't felt that with her in a long time. Believe it or not, they were planning a vacation together and she wants to visit him in July, giving him 2 years to move back to our country. I can't wrap my head around it. They were even discussing closeness details, and she straight up said she's leaving me to be with him. They were talking about their favorite positions, so you know they were real close. I listened to an hour-long recording of it all. I need to process it, and I'm meeting with an attorney next week. Thanks to my friend's suggestion, I wouldn't have bought that voice recording device if it wasn't for him. Someone might call me a moron for placing it in the car, but I don't care. I don't feel guilty. I can't stop thinking about my kids and what she's done. They've been up to something since last September, and it took me 2 months to notice changes in her behavior. Next week, I'll be taking care of my old father in another city for the entire week, so she'll use my home office. She'll probably be talking to him in my office. Should I place the recorder there for the next week, or do I have enough evidence already? Out of the blue, my wife tried calling her ex-boyfriend 4 times in a row at 10 p.m. I found out through an app that saved our numbers, showing all incoming and outgoing calls. Why would my wife, who never mentioned her ex before, suddenly be calling him persistently? It drove me insane, so I checked her iMessages on her laptop. After calling him 4 times, she sent him a message saying, "I'm not giving up until you actually answer and communicate with me in a respectful and civilized manner." I couldn't believe my eyes. I confronted her, and she denied it until I showed her the evidence. She admitted trying to reach her ex, but her story was convoluted. I'm uncertain about how to process this. It all happened when she started distancing herself from me. Her perspective is that it's not strange or negative for her to have kept it from me. It doesn't hold much significance to her. Any contact with an ex is a red flag for me, and it's unacceptable. Is she being unfaithful? Our closeness has been lacking for the past 6 months, which is exactly when these calls took place. Who is her AP after all? I now have concrete evidence that our issues aren't due to the reasons she's been telling everyone. The thing is, she doesn't know that I know. None of her family or friends are aware either. They all think we're just going through a temporary rough patch. She comes from a Catholic family with 3 sisters, attends church every Sunday, and we live in a small town with a population of 17,000. We recently built a house that's still unfinished. I discovered that she's planning to have me leave so that she can have time alone. Within 2 years, her AP will move to our small town to live with her in our house, along with our 2 young boys. She's hoping people will understand, claiming she needs a father figure for her kids. Interestingly, the AP is actually her first boyfriend, and they were together for 7 years before she married me. We've been together for 9 years. Although he lives abroad, he frequently visits our country. I won't let myself be manipulated that way. I've hired a lawyer and will be meeting with them soon. I have recordings that could potentially damage her reputation. My cheating wife didn't see my next move coming. I talked to my lawyer and got some eye-opening advice. Going all out and trying to ruin her life during the divorce wouldn't be the wisest move. We have kids, and I'll be co-parenting with her for the next 15, 16 years, so I need to be mindful of that. Plus, I respect her family and don't want to involve them in the divorce proceedings as witnesses. Additionally, I don't have a chance of winning custody since the kids need to be with their mother in the small town an hour away from me in the capital city. I wouldn't even be allowed to sell our house because the kids need a decent place to live, and we don't have another option. The place they're staying at now is owned by her dad, so it's just a temporary arrangement. It sucks, but that's the reality in the Czech Republic, Europe. After our conversation, the lawyer sent her the divorce papers, set to be delivered right after Easter in the Czech Republic. Yesterday I had a day off, so I took care of my 1-year-old son while she worked in the capital city, about an hour away. Meanwhile, my brother helped me pack up my belongings from the apartment and load them into his car. To add to the chaos, the postman delivered the divorce papers, or an invitation to mediation so we could divide everything amicably. According to the papers, she's in a relationship with this guy, mentioning his first and last name, and that's apparently the reason for the divorce. But at least the evidence I have will be useful for child support and such. It'll be leverage in my favor. When she walked into the house, I confronted her, told her I knew everything, and insisted she contact my lawyer. Then I handed her the divorce papers and left to visit her parents. Naturally, she asked how I knew and denied everything. Her parents were shocked, but they believed me. I recorded the entire conversation, following my lawyer's advice. I asked if they thought I was a good husband and father, and they approved, so she can't use them as witnesses against me in court. They understood the gravity of what she had done and how it devastated our lives. I thanked them for their understanding and headed to the capital city. Meanwhile, I reached out to a friend who helped spread the news to her circle of friends. Guess what? 2 hours later, my brother-in-law called, saying she confessed to cheating with the AP, but conveniently forgot to mention any closeness with him. Classic. He filled me in on how everyone's on my side and how she destroyed our once-perfect family. He then suggested everything could be saved because he cheated on his wife, too, and now they're living happily. Hilarious, right? Like that's going to make me feel better. Then, to add to the circus, her father called, blaming her and saying the AP will never set foot in his house again. He cut off financial support for my soon-to-be ex-wife, tried calling the AP, but the guy didn't pick up. And in a grand finale of absurdity, he thinks it can all be saved. But hold on, there's more. Her sister sends me a text saying she's fully on my side, yet she believes the situation can be salvaged. It's good they're supporting me, but are they all delusional? It's ridiculous, as if this mess could be magically fixed. It's infuriating. I really don't think our relationship can be saved, and I'm quite certain about it. I worry others might think I lack concrete evidence for leaving her. They aren't aware of the specifics of the evidence I have. All they know is that it's some sort of tape. I've got recordings of her saying things like, "Make sure you can last longer than 3 seconds. When I come to visit you in Brussels, I'm curious if your dad's Johnson is as big as yours. I'll ask that woman how long your brother's Johnson is and let her know how big yours is. Oh, I love you so much. Well, I'm finally going to leave my husband. About time. Record yourself and send me a video. I want to see what I'm missing. Just showing you a glimpse of what your sad life without me will look like. Giving you a generous 2 years to figure out how to move back here." Crazy idea. So guess who's calling back now? Yep, my ex. Just like all my friends predicted after her family gave her an earful. She's been texting me, confessing she had no clue what she was doing. Life would be unbearable without me. I'm so sorry for everything I've done. I'm waiting with the kids for your grand comeback, blah, blah, blah. So my lawyer finally laid out the divorce terms I want, and now we're waiting for her lawyer's response. But in the meantime, my mother-in-law flooded my phone with texts complete with Christian links about forgiveness, convinced my wife's been possessed by some evil spirit. And if that wasn't enough drama, her sister jumped on the blame train, telling me I'm the one ruining the marriage. According to her, it's all my fault for being selfish. But wait for it. Now my wife's teary-eyed and apologetic, wishing she could turn back time. Suddenly, I'm the selfish villain destroying the marriage by divorcing her. Yep, it's all on me now. Like I'm the bad guy for wanting out. I felt guilty for a moment today, like it's all my fault. They really know how to sway me. But you know what? It's tough. But I'm not changing my mind. The divorce is happening no matter what. In the Czech Republic, kids as young as ours are expected to stay with their mother in case of a divorce. Since she lives an hour away in a small town and the kids have their kindergarten and nursery there, a 50-50 split isn't feasible. I'll be an every other weekend dad with some additional access whenever I want. It's sad and painful, but it is what it is. I've been thinking about this unusual idea of suggesting some terms to reconcile with her. I don't love her anymore, but I do it for the kids because I care about them a lot. It wouldn't be a marriage, more like a partnership with separate finances. She'd need to move from her hometown to the capital city where I live. Also, I'd insist on having GPS in her car even when she's older and can't drive. I'd check her phone daily, and in return, I get to go on dates with other girls for 7 months. I might even cheat during the relationship and not tell her. If she finds out, whatever. No marriage. Anyway, I don't really care. It's just an idea, nothing serious, and I probably won't go through with it. I'm just desperate to silence the family accusing me of abandoning the kids. What do you think? Crazy, right? But I don't have any other bright ideas now. Currently, I'm crashing at my parents' place, sleeping on the living room couch. The dining table has become my makeshift office entertainment center, and my clothes are scattered on chairs. I work from home for about 8 hours a day, then pitch in with chores for my elderly parents, who are 90 and 82 years old. I handle groceries and drive them to doctor appointments. Besides that, I try to hit the gym or catch a movie to distract myself from negative thoughts. I see my kids every weekend. My ex drops them off, and I drive them back. Just to clear things up, I did a paternity test, confirming the boys are mine. The divorce terms situation is messy now, and it's tough to predict how it'll play out. I'm crashing at my parents' place, and as a dad of 2 and a grown adult, I have no other place to go. So I'm asking for a decent amount of money from my wife. She's agreed to take over the mortgage for the house, but is offering only a third of the money I'm asking for. She justifies it by saying that's my contribution to building the house. It's messy. I didn't cause this situation, but I need a place to live. Getting 1/3 of what I asked for won't cut it for buying a flat. The back and forth with our lawyers continues. She wants to keep the house, but she might be forced to sell it, which is what she should have done from the beginning. It'll be tough for her to manage the mortgage payments and pay me. We'll see how it pans out for child support. She's asking for more than reasonable, and we need to agree on that. On top of that, she insists I should be the one picking up the kids from the small town and driving them back at the end of the weekend. It's a lot of fuel and time on my part. In my opinion, it should be the other way around. She should be dropping them off, and I should drive them back. So you can see that she's the one responsible for all of this, but at the same time, she's ready to argue about the divorce terms. It's frustrating. My wife tried to convince me that she's remorseful and regrets what she's done. She told me she ended things with her affair partner, saw an exorcist, confessed to the affair details, and left it to God's hands. I laughed and told her I don't care about her priest. She should confess to me. I gave her a chance to come clean and asked her how many times she had been close with him. She denied it. Then I brought up the party she had with her work friends back in November and asked her why she rented an Airbnb for the night instead of staying at one of her friends' places. She went numb and couldn't find any words except for asking me why I keep torturing myself with it. I explained that if she truly felt remorseful, she wouldn't keep lying. 2 months after I left her, it was clear she wasn't being honest. I explained to her that for me, closeness over video chat is just as significant, and I'm aware that she had it with him. She couldn't even keep track of how many times she had done it with the AP. Then I confronted her, asking her how she envisions us getting back together. I pointed out how she would start a conversation with me and then lie in the very next moment. I asked her if she was aware that I would be checking her phone every day and what she thought about that. She snapped back, "That's not trust. That's just treating me like garbage, right?" At that moment, our son interrupted, and the conversation was wrapping up. I added, "Don't forget, it's not just me you cheated on, but also our 2 beloved boys." It devastated her, and she started yelling that I'd better not say anything like that again in front of our kids. It's funny. Her sister spilled the beans on how my wife acts sad and cries every day because of this situation. She's two-faced, acting all sad with the family but lying to me. She even said she could be with the affair partner and her family wouldn't care. As if I should be grateful she ended it with him and now she's in control. Seriously, divorce? After some lawyer discussions, we've agreed, and the divorce will be done soon. She gets the unfinished house, and the mortgage is all on her now. I want to clarify it's for the kids, not revenge for her cheating. Plus, I don't want to live in her small hometown, an hour away from the capital where I am now. However, I'm getting back what I invested in the house, and the amount is actually pretty good. Child support isn't bad, and we've agreed she drops the kids off in the capital every other weekend. I just have to drive them back. But honestly, seeing my kids only on weekends hurts so much. I can barely handle it. I can't bear the thought of my 1- and 3-year-old boys growing up without a father because of their mother. I wish I could have them with me, but Czech law doesn't allow it. I might have to start driving there midweek or find another way to make it work. As for her, she keeps saying she still loves me and wishes she could undo the past. She claims she suffers every day because of what she's done. She's softened to the point where she doesn't mind if I check her phone. It wouldn't make her feel bad anymore. She apologized to my parents and seemed genuinely sorry. She's willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. Now here's a shocker. Her affair partner got dumped, according to mutual friends. Can you believe it? He has a family in Brussels and didn't want to risk getting caught in this mess. It was all just a game for him, playing my wife. I'm moving on, not letting her toxic behavior drag me down. The divorce is happening and there's no going back. Good riddance to the cheater. I've got better things to focus on and a brighter future ahead. Life goes on, and I'm not wasting more time looking back at the mess she created. How can you tell if your wife is cheating on you? Did her mood suddenly change, or did she start going out in the evenings? Did she express a desire to have fun with her friends, or show any other unusual behavior worth noting? As for me, let's just say I had a strong intuition. When I got home from work, she was on the phone. The moment I walked in, she hastily said, "I have to go, he's home, bye," and immediately hung up, looking at me innocently. That triggered a terrible suspicion in me. I considered asking her about the call, but she could make up anything, right? Like chatting with a salesman about buying 2 massagers for the price of 1 for a cellulite treatment. Such thoughts didn't just pop into my head. There must have been a lingering doubt about my wife. I didn't like it, and I didn't want it to bother me every day. I'm not good with change. I prefer to stay out of something that's already working fine to avoid making it worse. Let me introduce myself and tell you about my family. I'm Ron, and Cindy and I have been married for 24 years. We have 4 children, 2 adults and 2 teenagers. We're not wealthy, but we make enough to live comfortably. Thankfully, we have no debts. Cindy and I own a cozy house with a paid-off mortgage. Our cars aren't new, but we don't have monthly payments. We might have a few small credit card debts, but that's about it. Overall, we are a typical American family, trying to live within our means. On weekdays, we work, eat, and take care of our home. The younger kids go to school, and on weekends, we occasionally go out together. Cindy and I try to keep up with our kids' interests, whether it's sports, art classes, scouting, or any other activity. Sometimes we even have family dinners around a common table, a rarity in these times. Our bed life is probably like most middle-aged couples. We make love once every 2 weeks or so. I might wish it were more frequent, but, it takes 2 to tango. Lately, Cindy hasn't been enthusiastic about that kind of closeness. That was a pun. Because of my supernatural intuition, I fear I have to be vigilant for any strange signs from her. It's like I don't trust her without any apparent reason. I'm hoping this nagging feeling in my stomach is just normal indigestion and not a sign of what I suspect. My main problem is that I'm not a detective or an expert. I'm just an average middle-aged man unfamiliar with hidden cameras, phone tapping, computer hacking, and other spy techniques you might have heard about. Moreover, I'm not wealthy enough to hire a private investigator to follow my wife, especially when I don't know where to look or what to look for. Cindy manages our finances, so I have no idea about her payments. If I start going through paperwork, she'll notice and want to know why I'm buried in bills. What am I supposed to tell her? "Honey, I've got a suspicious feeling in my stomach. Are you growing horns for me?" "Yeah," and she'll probably say, "Honey, I bet you'd rather go for a break than deal with that." A bit of family background. Our marriage appears quite ordinary, as it should be at our stage in life. I met Cindy in our early 20s, we dated for about a year, and then we got married every 2 years. She had a baby when we reached 4 children. Honestly, I got tired of babies popping out like moles in a slot machine, so I had a vasectomy after her last birth. One night, everyone in our house, 2 teenagers, my wife and I, had dinner together. The kids talked about their school day, and Cindy shared details about her part-time job at the library. After our 2 youngest started college, Cindy got bored being home alone, so she got a part-time job at the local library. Her schedule was irregular, making me wonder if the library was a place I should check out. But how was I supposed to do that? Taking a day off work to watch who goes in and out of the library isn't practical. Forget the library. I had a better idea. I could catch her at her women's card club tonight and start my private investigation after she left. To do that, I'd have to discreetly follow her in my trusty old pickup truck. I can't afford a rental car like husbands in stories about cheating wives. Anyway, Cindy left for the card club, and a few minutes later, I quietly slipped out. I knew where she was going since she told me and left a phone number. Unfortunately, I lost her car, so I drove to Marge's house where the poker tournament was supposed to happen. Arriving there, I saw Cindy's car among others in front of Marge's house. I waited, scanned the street, and got out of my pickup, parked a couple of houses away. I crept to a window and peeked inside, seeing 4 women at each of the 2 card tables, chatting, smoking, and occasionally bursting into laughter. Just cards, money, and 8 women having a good time. No debauchery. I was ready to intervene and put an end to what I assumed was wild behavior. But my investigation hit a snag, and as I backed up to my truck, I stepped in dog poop. "Great," I muttered, waddling sideways like a drunken crab with greased shoes toward the truck. Darn dogs and their owners who let them roam freely after feeding them, leaving the rest of us to deal with unexpected landmines. I had to spend about 10 minutes cleaning dog poop off my shoes before I could hop back into my truck. The stench lingered, so I rolled down all the windows, sped up, and made sure not to obstruct the inspector or risk a ticket for the foul-smelling environmental trail behind me. Despite the disastrous first attempt, I didn't give up. My gut feeling, like a reliable compass, insisted that betrayal was looming. Once home, shedding my soiled clothes, I headed to the laundry basket to inspect my wife's undergarments. Luckily, she hadn't done laundry this week. I checked her closet for revealing dresses and inappropriate clothes, then went through every drawer in her dresser. Nothing suspicious, absolutely nothing. In the office file cabinet, I found a binder of invoices. Flipping through the bills until they blurred in front of my eyes like lotto balls, I found nothing unusual. Except for the hole in the bagel. Honestly, Cindy was a pro at hiding evidence of infidelity. She was impressive. Next, I accessed her computer, using the password she had told me long ago, which was also printed out and hanging next to the computer. I scrolled through all of Cindy's emails, realizing it was a bit silly since we shared the same account. If there was anything fishy, I would have noticed it long ago. Not surprisingly, I couldn't find a thing. Another dead end. I've been searching for 3 hours and I've got nothing against Cindy. When I read cheating stories online, there's always some evidence. Secret phone records, motel bills, unexplained spending, and more. They hire super sneaky private investigators, install clever phone tapping devices, and catch cheating spouses red-handed. Yet where is all this stuff in my case? If I can't find a thing, my Cindy must be a master at covering her tracks and playing a double game. As I gave up and started cleaning my mess, Cindy walked in through the front door. Kneeling by the laundry basket, I held her dirty underwear. We both froze, her eyes widening like cat saucers. Cindy suggested it was time for a talk, accusing me of following her to Marge's. She described seeing my face behind the open window jamb and hearing grunting in the darkness, questioning if I had stepped in some dog poop. She even mentioned the location where Marge's dog did its dirty deeds. In response, I dismissed the idea of Marge having a dog, likening it to King Kong. I sat there with a silly smile, dirty clothes in hand, feeling trapped. My face and neck grew hot, my throat went dry, and I lost the gift of English speech. I recapped recent events, expressing disbelief at finding Cindy sniffing me dirty laundry and questioning if she didn't trust me. I mumbled about whether she truly believed I was cheating on her, stammering in my defense. Cindy suggested we talk and led me to the living room. Tossing the laundry in the hamper, I got up and followed her, landing on the couch. Cindy sat down next to me, folding her hands in her lap and looking at me intently. Shrewdly, she asked if I was reading erotic stories again on my lunch break at work, to which I nodded embarrassingly. She inquired if the stories were about cheating wives, and I admitted they were. Cindy pressed further, asking if I thought of her when reading those stories. I mumbled in response, averting my gaze, admitting that I did think of her. I justified my actions by explaining that I followed her to Marge's because, upon returning home from work, I found her on the phone, hastily saying, "I gotta go," and hanging up. I went on the offensive, challenging her to explain her behavior. Cindy looked at me with raised eyebrows and a broad smile, shaking her head. She expressed uncertainty about whether to be mad at me or just hug me. Grinning, she mentioned not knowing who she should direct her feelings toward. In response, I frowned and stared back, asking about the person she was talking to when I walked in, urging her not to lie to me. She casually shrugged, disclosing that she was talking to my mother. Apparently, my mother called her almost every day, and Cindy seemed amused by my big investigation triggered by a call from my mom. She remarked on how she felt stupid for forgetting about my mom, highlighting that my mom was yet another phone-happy individual. Cindy tilted her head, smiled slyly at my guilty conscience, and then moved closer, placing her hands on top of mine and squeezing them lightly. Cindy inquired if I had ever found her behavior suspicious or distrustful, to which I admitted that it was just a gut feeling. She continued to smile and affectionately called me a miracle, expressing love despite my quirks. She wrapped her hands around my cheeks, declaring me her favorite man and reassuring me of her love. She acknowledged the need to improve our closeness and suggested addressing it immediately. With those words, she took my hand and led me into the bedroom, locked the door, dimmed the lights, and began undressing me. She asked if I felt better now with sly demons bouncing in her eyes. In response, I expressed my love and admiration, but questioned the warning signals from my gut. Cindy responded with laughter, holding her stomach and wiping away tears. She retrieved a blister of pills from the medicine cabinet and tossed it on the bed, seemingly finding humor in the situation. As I popped the wheels and froze, my wife suggested that I take 2 pills for indigestion. She listened to the rumbling response of my stomach and gave me a stern look, urging me to stop sniffing her dirty underwear. She found it disgusting and agreed with Cindy, acknowledging that when Cindy is right, she's right.